Emily, and today we are back with another blouse video. This time we are making the Ryan top by Whitney Deal on Etsy, and I will include a link to her Etsy shop in the description below in case you want to make your own version. Now this top I always think of as my kindergarten teacher top. I think it was my choice of fabric, this sort of geometric, blocky print combined with the sort of like fun simplicity of the pattern itself. Kind of gives school teacher vibes, which in my early 20s was definitely a thing I had going on with my style, even though I never was a teacher. So this is kind of bringing me back to my youth a little bit. Even though I've kind of moved on from that with my personal style, I still really love this top. I'm drawn to the bright colors and just the fun geometric shapes. This top has like a yoke that forms the upper portion of it, and then it is gathered at the bust, which forms the rest of the body of the top. So relatively simple construction, a little bit more casual feeling than the last blouse that we did, which was the Greenwood. This is the Greenwood blouse from the last video. But still, I like this because, you know, you can wear it casually just out and about, but I can also wear it to work. Like, I don't work in a super formal environment, so it kind of can go, you know, either way. And I like that about it. After printing the pattern and taping the pieces together, I started by cutting out my fabric. And I can't help but smile every time that I look at this fabric. It's just the cutest pattern. French seams wherever I can, so that means that I start by sewing my seam with wrong sides facing. And the great thing about this quilting cotton fabric is that you don't even really have to pin it together for short straight seams like this. It will stick to itself easy enough. Stitching each seam, I always iron over the stitches just to set them in place before opening the fabric up and ironing out the seam so that you get a nice crisp edge there. Once I had that edge folded back, now with right sides facing, I'm able to do another row of stitches, fully encasing the raw edges in the seam. The neck facing pieces get reinforced with iron-on stabilizer, so I am just cutting out that stabilizer to shape before using my iron to adhere it to the fabric. There is a back facing and a front facing, so to turn that into sort of the entire circle that we need for our neckline, we just need to sew those two pieces together, mimicking the shoulder seams for the rest of the garment that we also just created. And to keep these edges from fraying, I am just using my pinking shears on them. And with right sides facing, the facing gets attached to the rest of the garment. And it's important here just to make sure to line up those shoulder seams before stitching. Then the seam allowance gets top stitched down to the facing, and this just keeps the facing on the inside of the garment. It keeps that edge from sort of rolling up and becoming visible when worn. The main body of the top gets gathered down and attached to the yoke, but it is only gathered and stitched down in between 2 points. So the pattern piece has the appropriate point, so just transferring those markings onto my actual fabric. Then using the widest stitch setting on my machine, I sew a row of stitches on the top of that body, and this is what I will gather up to attach to the yoke. I pin it down in the middle and at each end, and this just helps me when I'm gathering to keep those gathers proportional and evenly distributed. Once those gathers are pinned in place and with right sides together, they get stitched together. Seam allowance downward and use my pinking shears again to make sure that that edge won't fray. Next, the sleeves are hemmed by folding the fabric back on itself twice, and I like to do this on my ironing board using pins to kind of help me keep that in place as I iron at each step to get a nice crisp edge. Then we just top stitch that to keep it in place. And you could also choose to hand stitch this if you want that row of stitching to be less visible. After that, I sewed up each of the side seams, and again, I am doing French seams here, so I'm starting this with wrong sides facing for my first row of stitches and stitching all the way up under the armpit through that little curve. Then to make the fabric lay nice and flat, I clipped in the curve. Then I turned it inside out and pressed that seam nice and flat and crisp. Then I was able to put in my second row of stitches to form that French seam. And normally French seams are only done on straight seams because they become a little bit unwieldy when trying to use them on corners. But because this corner was relatively small and it's going to be sort of hidden underneath the arm, I don't find an issue using it in this area. The last step is to put the hem in, and you do this the same way that we did with the sleeves by turning up that bottom edge twice before top stitching it down. A second row of top stitching here just for a more decorative finish. And there you have it, my super cute Ryan top that I wear all the time. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more sewing adventures. See you next time.